So I spent the last day of the New World closed beta working on trade skills, gathering, refining, and crafting so that I could learn everything there is to know about the 17, that's right, 17 trade skills. Now I'm going to tell you everything that I found. Let's go. This video is sponsored by me. If you're going to enjoy this video, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button and the like, the dislike, all those buttons. Let's go. The trade skills can be broken down into 3 sections. Gathering, which is gathering the raw materials that you need. The refining process, which is putting those materials into usable crafting resources. And finally, crafting, which is turning those resources into various items like armor or weapons or food or furniture or even gathering tools themselves, and the process begins again. We're going to go through this process from start to finish, and I'll give you some tips along the way as well as how to level up these skills as fast as possible. And we're going to start with gathering. Gathering is done out in the world. You'll come across all sorts of items that you can gather. By the time you get to about level 10, you will have all of the basic gathering tools to allow you to collect pretty much everything that you find. The gathering skills are mining, which you need a pickaxe for, and you use that to mine ore, obviously. Skinning, you need a skinning knife, and you use that to skin animals. Logging, which you need a logging axe for, which is for wood chopping. Harvesting, which you need a sickle, which is used for harvesting various plants. And fishing, which you need a fishing pole, and you can probably guess what that is for. Now, when you're gathering, if you're looking for very specific items, there is a few ways that you can find them. Now, if you go into your trade skills, you click on the gathering skill, you'll see pictures of the items that you can actually find, what they will look like. This is really useful, especially for the harvesting and finding things like hemp, as originally I had no idea what this looked like. Once you get to a certain level, you'll actually be able to track those items as well. So when you get to a level and it says it's trackable at level 25, for example, anytime you're in the vicinity of that item, it will show up in your compass. You'll see a little icon there to indicate that you are close by to where you can gather that resource. You can also find various resources by looking at the map in the different zones. If you bring up the resources, you'll be able to see where rough areas are going to be that you'll find them. So it'll say like grassland, and it'll show the grassland area on the map. You basically just go to these areas, wander around, you probably get lucky and find some spawns there. There is also a fan-made website that goes through every spawn location for practically every resource that you may need. I'll have a link to that in the comments down below. So there's plenty of different ways that you can actually find these items as you're exploring. We'll cover this in a little bit more detail when we get to crafting, but your gathering tools can be upgraded as well, and you should be doing this pretty early on. It will not only increase your gathering speed, but you can get perks on these tools, like the ability to increase the durability of the tool, or even get extra experience when you do use that gathering tool. Now let's talk about refining. So once you've got those nice raw materials, you've collected your ore, your hemp, whatever it may be, you can go to these stations at the settlement and refine them into ingots and leather and linen and all sorts of other things. The refining trade skills all have a corresponding station that you can find at every single major settlement. Smelting is obviously the smelter. The leather working trade skill is the tannery. Weaving is the loom station. Woodworking is the wood shop, and stone cutting is the stone cutting station. The easiest way to find where these are at each of the settlements is to zoom in on the settlement on the map and actually just hover over the icons and actually find where they are. Something to note is that these stations and the crafting stations can all be leveled up, and in some cases you need a higher tier station in order to craft a certain higher level item. You can view the requirements on the UI next to the craft icon. It'll say what level you need of the actual trade skill, what level you need for the station itself, and if you have the required resources in order to craft the item. I will cover how you can level up these refining skills quickly in the crafting session, as it's basically exactly the same. But the one thing to note with refining is the stone cutting trade skill. This is slightly different to the others, and the others are basically making an item or something that you can then use later on to then craft into something else. Whereas stone cutting is used primarily for cutting stones, which you then can put those gems into your gear. So if you are looking to tank, for example, and you want to make the tank cardinal gem, you can use this at a stone cutting station, make that gem, and then put it straight into your gear. Now, once you've refined all of your materials, the next step is the crafting. Crafting is the final form of the trade skills, where you use the materials you've collected and found on your journeys to make armor and weapons and furniture and potions and food and all sorts of stuff. You just make lots of stuff, pretty much anything in this game, really. There is 7 different crafting trade skills. Most of these don't have their own crafting station. They often share stations with others, like weaponsmithing, armoring, and engineering can all be done at the one station, same as the workshop for things like crafting tools. Now, the weaponsmith will allow you to craft weapons, obviously, that makes kind of sense, and armory is the same for armor. The armorers also allow you to create storage bags, which is something that we'll touch on a little bit later, but you absolutely should be creating storage bags because you can then increase your carry weight, which is really good for gathering, as well as sell these bags for a substantial profit. Jewel crafters can create jewels, your rings, your jewelry, all that stuff. Engineers can create ranged weapons, ammunition, and the gathering tools. Arcanists create potions and magical items, and cooks, well, it's kind of obvious what cooks do. Furnishers are for furnishing, chests, trophies, all that sort of stuff for your housing. Now, when you do craft various items, there are 2 additional fields that you should look at. One of them is the additional resources, and what you can do here is basically guarantee yourself to get a certain perk or a buff on the weapon or item that you are creating. And Azoth, which allows you to get a higher chance of getting perks on the gear that you are creating. If you don't use the additional resources, you can put more Azoth into the gear and it will roll extra perks. However, if you are trying to guarantee you get a certain something on the piece of gear, you do want to use the additional resources option. You should always be putting Azoth on the gear if you are going to use it anyway. These crafting mods can be found while exploring the world by opening chests. You can often get them in dungeons as well. If you're looking for specific ones, the best thing to do is probably jump on the trading post and buy them outright because you don't really have a guaranteed way to get specific mods that you are looking for. If you're looking at the item itself, you can actually increase the gear score or the potential gear score by changing the secondary materials required. Underneath the primary, which is a must, you must always have the primary resource. You can change the secondary resources and increase them. Say if you're using iron ingots, you could use steel ingots, for example. It'll increase the potential gear score of the item that you are creating. There is a lot of really quality gear locked behind the higher tiers of the trade skills, like the bags that you can create, as well as the gathering tools, which you absolutely should be doing, and obviously weapons and various other things that you can create from them. Now let's quickly cover how to level your trade skills as fast as possible. Now with the gathering ones, it's pretty obvious. You just gather whatever you need to do. But the best thing you should be doing is making the higher level gathering tools as soon as possible. It will increase your gathering speed, which ultimately means you can gather things faster, getting more experience faster, as well as some of the perks you can get, which increase your experience that you are gaining for that trade skill. It's probably the best way to pick up the gathering skills as quickly as possible. For your refining and crafting skills, the best way to level these is by making whatever the cheapest item is. So if you're looking at like iron tools, for example, you probably just want to make a ton of iron weapons or, the basic armory things that you can create. Because as you start looking at some of the high level pieces, yes, you do get more experience per crafted item, but it does require higher level materials in order to make that item. So the cost is outweighed there by the value of getting that little bit of extra XP. When you can make 25 iron longswords, why would you make 2 steel longswords, for example? Now, you could also buy any raw materials and stuff that you need from the trading post if you don't want to go out and gather it yourself. This is also worth noting if you do want to sell things. You can sell all sorts of things on the trading post, and something I would highly recommend selling, especially not too long after launch, everyone is going to want storage bags. So if you're levering armory, you could probably make a fair amount of coin by just putting these up on any trading post. Something else to note is the territory standings that you can level up in each region. If you are looking to do a lot of gathering and crafting, you should be increasing your gathering speed and decreasing your crafting fee in those regions. You can also increase your storage in any of the sheds in the settlements that you own. I would recommend to put everything you own in a storage shed in one settlement and basically make that your settlement and crafting hub. Everything you put into the storage shed there can then be accessed from any of the crafting stations in that same settlement. So you don't have to lug around a million steel ingots just to do all of your crafting. And lastly, you should check out my classes explained video for New World. It goes through how to be a DPS, how to be a tank, and how to be a healer all in the one video. So it gives you a great example of how to play the PvE in New World. Please follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and on Twitch, where I stream 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, Australian night times. Hope to see you guys there in the next stream. Thank you for watching this video. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.